Let's see here. So DEV, SDA are hard disk name. SDA means SATA. So excuse me guys. Saturday we discuss about SATA, SCSI and those all stuff, right? So DEV, SDA means SATA, approximately 40 GB hard disk will have, right? So we'll have the two different partitions here, DEV, SDA1 and DEV, SDA2. Those both the partitions belongs to operating system, guys. Okay, those are partitions belongs to operating system. Star indicates here we'll have the star. See, that means this DEV SDA3 it belongs to boot partition. Slash BOOT will have the, so SDA1 it belongs to boot. Total how much size will have? 400 MB, right? And then 80 is a partition type and it's a Linux partition. DEV SDA2 30 GB will have. So this is LVM. We'll see later about LVM. First of all, now we are discussing about standard partition. Standard partitions, guys. How to make the one hard disk into the multiple slices, multiple partitions. Got it? So now already we'll have the SDA1, SDA2. Now we need to create SDA3, SDA4, so SDA5. Like this we need to create. So approximately we'll have the 40 GB space. So from 40 GB, we utilize 30 GB for operating system. Remaining 10 GB space will have. Now I'm going to use this 10 GB to create the multiple partitions now for doing the practical session, right? Okay. So how to create the partition? So fdisk DEV SDA, then hit enter. So fdisk space slash DEV SDA. Guys, welcome to fdisk. Util Linux 2.23 is a version, right? So now we are going to fdisk will form fixed disk. We are going to fix the disk now. We are trying to making the partition with the help of fdisk command. So how we need to create the partition? Guys, command M for help. So if you're using the M, it will provide the all the options. So now our target, we need to create the new partition. That's it now. So which option we should use? N option we need to use. N is an option to create the new partition, right? I need to print the partition table. So P is option. So print the partition table, right? So P is option to print the partition table. So let's use P, it will print the partition table. So DEV SDA is our hard disk name. So it having the two partitions, DEV SDA1 and DEV SDA2. So guys, don't disturb DEV SDA1 and DEV SDA2. If you're disturbing this partition, you're going to lose your operating system. Because SDA1, SDA2 contain operating system, right? So now our target, we need to create new partition. N is an option to create the new partition. N is an option to create the new partition, right? So N is option to create the new partition. So how many types of partitions will have? So two types of partitions will have, primary and extended. Guys, if we observe, already we'll have the two primary partitions, right? SDA1 and SDA2 both are primary partitions. Zero extended, we doesn't have the any extended partition, and two possibilities will have. That means two free. So we can able to create two more partition. So I said no. So maximum possibilities of the partitions are 4. In that already we created two partitions, two free will have, right? So now I'm trying to creating the primary partition again. Okay. So by default, if you use the P, so it will create primary partition. So default P, if you want, you can hit enter, or otherwise you can use P and then hit enter. Now partition number already will have 1 and 2. DEV SDA1 will have, DEV SDA2 will have. So by default, it will take 3. 3 or 4 because the 4 possibilities will have, right? So I'm providing 3 partition, or otherwise if you want, you can hit enter also. By default, it will take 3. Okay. So first sector First sector means, so what is sector? Cylinder, track, and then cluster. Those all logical parts inside the hard disk, right? So let's see here. You know internal parts, right? Already we discussed about internal parts. We'll see now logical parts in a hard disk. So where we are going to store the data in hard disk, guys? So where you are going to store the data inside the hard disk? Plotter. Very good, Kapil. So we are going to store the data inside the plotter, aluminum oxide coated plotter, right? So this is a HDD sector. So images. See guys. So this is aluminum oxide coated plotter. Say here. This is aluminum oxide coated plotter, right? So here, this is a plotter, guys. Okay. So this plotter, it having the tracks. This all logical parts, guys. Logical components. So physical component is a aluminum oxide coated plotter. Inside the aluminum oxide coated plotter will have the logical components now. So this round circles will have, see, right? This round circles will have those all tracks. Clear? Those all tracks. Okay. Those tracks, it got divided into multiple sectors. This triangle part will have, no? For example, if you purchase the round birthday cake, if you cut into the multiple pieces, so one triangle piece will get. The triangle piece called sector. If you see the piece like in vertical, so what will have? So that is called cylinder. Okay. If you're seeing like this, so that is called cylinder. Okay. So now this is a sector. So hard disk partitions, how we are going to do in the sense with the help of sector number. With the help of sector numbers. Okay. So by default in RHEL 7.0 onwards, the sector numbers, it will start from 2048. 2048 sector. Yes. S means sectors. Sectors, MBs, KBs, GBs, according to your requirement, you can use like that. You can divide the sectors. Okay. So this is a, for example, this is a first sector. So we'll have the n number of the sectors, right? Like this, the triangle parts will have n number of the triangle parts, right? So how you're going to define the size in the sense? So depends on the sector numbers. For example, I need to create 2 GB partition. I need to create 2 GB partition. For example, assume this is a first sector. From here to here, we'll have the 2 GB. That means this is sector number, starting sector number, and it's an end sector number. In between, we'll have the 2 GB. I hope you got it. So depends upon sector. So we are going to make the partition in our hard disk. Okay, sector numbers. So now each and every track, it having the one space. See here, this is one track and this is one track. In between, we'll have the one space, green color. That is called cluster. That is called cluster, guys. Okay. So how we are going to store the data inside the hard disk in the sense? Cluster wise, sector wise. First, it is going to fill the one cluster, and like this, it is going to fill total sector. I hope you got it, guys. So the green color part will have, see here, the green color is cluster. So this is one track and this is one track. In between, we'll have some space, right? That is called cluster. So in cluster, we are going to store the data. I hope you got it, guys. Yes, no. Assume this in our hard disk, virtual hard disk, how much space will have? 40 GB space will have, right? So this is a starting sector, guys, 2048 by default. Okay. So this is an end sector 83886080, right? From 2048 to 83886080, in between we'll have 40 GB space. I hope you got it. Now, while I'm installing the operating system, so I have created few partitions, right? So one is boot. The boot, it will start from 20482. It will end with 821247. In between, we'll have 400 MB. This sector and this sector. This is a starting sector. It's an end sector. This is one partition. The partition name is DVSDA1. So how much size? 400 MB. So it's a Linux partition, right? I hope you're clear how we need to create the partitions now. So now DVSDA2. So it is end with 47, right? So we need to start with 48. Got it? So we should not waste the space in between. So 47 and we need to start with 48. 821248 and 6227761. This is the end sector. In between, we'll have 30 GB space approximately. I hope you got it, guys. So depends upon sector numbers, we are going to make the partition, multiple partition with the help of a hard disk. Inside the hard disk, how we are doing the partitions in the sense using the sector numbers, right? Okay. So already we did two partitions. Those both the partitions, it belongs to operating system. Now I'm trying to creating my own partition now, right? That is DVSDA3. First sector, actually it is end with 31. It will start with 32. That's it now. So this is a starting sector. By default, it will take, no need to type here. Just you need to hit enter. That's it. You need to hit enter. So by default, it will take 622777632. But according to our requirement, we need to define the size of the particular partition. How you are going to define the size in the sense with the help of last sector number. I hope you got it, guys. Right? So total, how many sectors will have? 83886079. So from here to here, these many sectors will have. In between, approximately 10 GB space will have. So now I'm not going to create the 10 GB partition. So my intention is I am trying to creating the 2 GB partition. So do you know the sector number for 2 GB? We doesn't know as a humans because it's a very lengthy numbers will have to remember those all the numbers. It's been difficult to us. I hope you got it, guys. So because of that reason, instead of sector numbers, it can give the size in KBs, in MBs, in GBs. Now my intention is I need to provide the 2 GB partition. So I'm trying to creating the 2 GB partition now, right? So plus 2G, capital G. Then hit enter. See guys, partition 3 of type Linux and of size 2 GB is set. Clear? That means the 2 GB partition it got created. So how to print the partition table? P to print the partition table. See guys, DVSDA3 it got created. So 622776362. This is a sector number, starting sector, and 666471935. This end sector. In between, we'll have the 2 GB size. So it's a 2 GB. It's a Linux partition. I hope you're clear how we need to create the partitions, right? Again, new partition. Guys, if you observe, by default, it is taking E. So that's it now. 3 primary we need to create, and remaining space we should convert into the extender. With the help of extender, we are going to create the logical drives, right? So more than 4 partitions we should create, in the sense we should follow this. 3 primary, 1 extender. With the help of 1 extender, we are going to create the multiple logical drives, right? So now what I'm doing in this sense, forcefully I'm trying to creating again one more primary partition. Got it, guys? Instead of creating the extended partition now, so I'm trying to creating the primary again. So P to primary. First sector, don't give anything. Then I'm defining the last sector again 2 GB. Yes, how many partitions will have? 4 partitions we have. 4 are primaries only. So DV SDA1 also primary, SDA2, SDA3, SDA4, those 4 partitions are primary partitions only. Got it, guys? Right? So how much space will have remaining? From 10 GB, I utilized 4 GB. That's it, na? 2 plus 2, 4. So approximately 6 GB space will have. Can we able to create the one more partition now? What happened? What I said yesterday. Only 3 primary. More than 3 primary partitions if you create, even if you have the space, it will become unused space. That means we are unable to create the more than 4 primary partition, even if you're having the space. Right? Clear? Now what I should do? I need to delete the 4th partition, DVSDA4. Then I need to convert the space into the extender. So with the help of extender, we can able to create the multiple logical drives. Right? Okay. So how to delete? D to delete the partition. So 4th partition I'm deleting. So it got deleted. So P to print the partition table. See here, we doesn't have the SDA4. The SDA4, it got deleted. The SDA4, it got deleted, right? Yes, no? Good. Now, I'm creating the new partition, extended partition. First sector, I'm not providing anything. And last sector also, I'm not providing anything. The total 8 GB space I have converted into extended partition. Got it, guys? So let's P to print the partition table. DEV SDA4 from this sector to this sector, total 8 GB space will have. So it's an extended partition. Guys, remember, you are unable to store the data into the extended partition directly. Got it? We are unable to store the data inside the extended partition directly. So what we need to do, with the help of extended partition, we need to create the multiple logical drives. Got it? So we need to create the multiple logical drives. Simple. N is option. So here now it don't ask primary and extended. Already 3 primary, 1 extended, it got completed. So with the help of extender, we are creating the logical drives now. Right? The first sector, we should not give anything. So last sector, I'm defining 2 GB. So let's P to print the partition table. See here, more than 4 partitions we can. Got it? 3 primary, SDA1, SDA2, SDA3. Those 3 partitions are primary partitions. SDA4 is extender. With the help of extender, so we created SDA5 called logical drive. Now, what is the difference between primary partition and logical drive? Yes, guys. What is the difference between primary and logical drive? Guys, both are block devices only. So in both the blocks, we can able to store the data. But if you need to install the operating system, you should have the primary. Without the primary partition, you are unable to install the operating system. That is the difference. That's it. In logical drive also, you can able to store the data. That is also block device only. Primary also block device only, right? So, but you need to install the operating system. It should primary. If we having the primary partition, then only we can able to install the operating system. In logical drive, it's not possible. Got it, guys? Clear? Right. So now we created few partitions. If you want, you can create one more partition also. So so see here, 6 partitions. So depends upon your hard disk size, you can create the multiple partitions, right? So W to save the partition table. W to save the partition table, right? Okay, guys, here after completing your task, you need to reboot the operating system. Guys, in real-time environment, don't reboot the servers frequently because you will get the downtime. So you need to reboot the server in the sense you need to take the permission from your senior authority. That means your senior administrator. So guys, here, what we did the changes into our partition table, the changes we need to utilize in the sense. So definitely what we should do, we need to reboot the operating system. Then only the partition, old partition table, it is going to upgrade to the new partition table. Apart from rebooting, if you want, you can use part probe command. So part probe or kpartx, both are same, but better to use part probe. So part probe, it will request the kernel to update the partition table, old partition table to new partition table. Kpartx, it will inject the kernel, right, to update the partition table, right? So if you want, you can use any command. It's not a problem to update the old partition table to new partition table. If you didn't execute this command, you are unable to utilize the DEV SDA3, SDA4, and SDA5, SDA6. So we should execute this command, then only the old partition table, it is going to upgrade to the new partition table. So who is going to upgrade this? Kernel. Kernel, it will upgrade the old partition table to new partition table, right? So with the help of part probe command or kpartx command. So part probe, and I'm providing the device name called DVSDA. So if you're providing the device name called DVSDA, so it will activate. So clear. Now it is ready to use. Clear? So we need to store the data inside the partition. So how to store the data? So if you want, you can check parted also, guys. So parted hyphen also you can use. It's not a problem, right? See, let's see here. See here clearly we can able to find out the types. 3 primary, 1 extended, 2 logical drives. Parted hyphen L, and only one partition it having the file system. Remaining partitions doesn't have the any file system. Got it, guys? Yes, no, right. So now my intention is I need to store the data inside the DEV SDA3 partition. So how to store the data? DEV SDA3 size is 2 GB. It's a primary partition. So now I need to store the data. Guys, those are all raw partitions. We doesn't have the any file system to store the data inside that particular partition, right? So first of all, what we should do, we need to assign the file system to the partition. So how to assign the file system? With the help of mkfs command, making file system, right? Mkfs -t means type. So xfs, ext4, whatever if you want, you can give, right? According to your requirement, you can give. So by default in RHEL 7.0 as well as in 8.0 version having the XFS file system. So if you want, you can give ext4 also, it's not a problem, right? Okay. So now to whom we need to assign DEV SDA3. So I'm trying to assigning the file system, then hit enter. See guys, the file system, it got assigned successfully. Now I need to verify whether this partition it having the file system or not. BLK ID is a command, block ID. So BLK ID is a command to know the file system. See guys, DEV SDA. So this is a name of the partition and it's a UUID, universal unique ID. Universal unique ID. Each and every device, it having the one UUID to identify the particular device. Like the same way, SDA3 also, DEV SDA3 also, it having the one universal unique ID. Right, guys? Right. The type of the partition is XFS. That means the file system it got assigned. So if you want, you can check parted command also. Let's see here, parted -L. See. Clear, guys? SDA3 it having the XFS file system. Okay, right. So we create the partitions. Okay, we assign the file system for the particular partition, right? Okay. Now I need to store the data inside the partition. How to store the data, guys? How to store the data inside the partition now? We'll have the one block. It doesn't have the any name. DEV SDA3 is a block, but it doesn't have the any drive letter. So you created one partition, for example, in Windows. If it doesn't have the drive letter, can we able to access the partition from Windows, guys? So like the same way coming to Linux, we created one partition, we assigned the file system, it's good. To access the partition, we doesn't have the mount point. I hope you got it. So mount point means like as a drive letter. In Windows, we'll have the drive letter. So here we are going to call mount point. So we need to create the mount point. With the help of that mount point, we are going to access the device. We can able to store the data into the device. We can able to get the data from the device. Without mount point, you are unable to store the data. Got it, guys? DEV SDA3 is a one block file. DEV SDA3 is a one block file. So inside that block file, we need to store the data. In the sense, we should create the mount point. How to create the mount point? So mount is a command to create a mount point, right? So mount is a command to create a mount point, right? So DEV SDA3, to whom I'm trying to creating the mount point for DEV SDA3. So we should provide the partition name, right? And which directory we should use to create the default mount point. So while we are discussing about file system hierarchy, at the time I said, so which directory we need to use? Vaibhav? No. Anupam? Which directory we should use to create the default mount point for any partition? /m and t. /m and t is a one empty directory. We are going to use this m and t to create the mount point for any partition. The /m and t, it will work like as a drive letter. I hope you got it, guys. Right? /m and t, then hit enter. So how to verify the mount point now? Mount is a command, that's it. So mount is a command to verify the mount point. See, guys? So DEV SDA3, so it's on M and T. The type is XFS. It having the system default permissions. Read write permission. So real-time scalable permission, attributes, everything will have. We can able to store the data and we can able to get the data. But how we need to store the data inside the DEV SDA3? With the help of MNT. The MNT is a mount point for DEV SDA3. We are unable to store the data directly into the DEV SDA3. So because of that reason, we are using /MNT as an empty directory to store the data inside the DEV SDA3. Because of that reason, we created mount point. I hope you got it. So mount is a command to know the mount point. Apart from this, if you want, you can use df-th, capital TH. So DEV SDA3 is a device name, file system name, and XFS is a type, then 2 GB size, and it's mounted on /MNT. I hope you got it. How much free space will have, we can see. So it's empty, na? So 2 GB will have 2 GB it is showing. We didn't store the data inside the DEV SDA3, right? So now I'm going to create few files inside the DEV SDA3. using MNT. Got it, guys? CD/MNT. Right? So now try to create few files. 1.4. Okay, mkdir. So dir 1.4. So like this, you can create few files and directories inside the DVSDA3. I hope you're clear, guys. How to create the partitions, how we need to assign the file system to the partition. So how we need to store the data inside the partition. Clear, right? So what we created the mount point, that is temporary mount point, guys. I'm rebooting the operating system. If you reboot the operating system, you're going to lose the mount point. You're not going to lose the data. You'll have the data into the DVSDA3, but just what we connected the mount point with the help of MNT, that is we are going to lose. We'll have the data inside the DVSDA3, not into the MNT. Remember, MNT is an empty directory, that's it. It doesn't have anything inside the MNT. With the help of this MNT directory, we are going to store the data inside the DVSDA3. So guys, it's not like this. We should use only MNT. If you want, you can create your own directory on empty directory. You can use the directory to create the mount point. I'll show you now. Let's see practically. So I hope you got it, guys. See how you can able to use OneDrive letter for multiple devices. Kapil. Yes, Kapil. So you'll have the C drive, right? Like C drive, you're going to assign for multiple partitions. Even if you're assigning, you'll get some errors. That means you are unable to access the proper data from the device, right? So let's see, guys. So let's check the mount point. So which command we should use? So df-th. See, if it doesn't have the mount point, we lose the mount point, right? Okay, I'll do one thing. So for better understanding, I'm trying to creating one directory purpose. I'm trying to creating the one directory on top of the desktop, right? So dir1 directory I have created on top of the desktop. Now I'm trying to creating the mount point with the help of the dir1, right? So mount is a command. So dev sda3, then home student, desktop dir1, then hit enter. See, if you open, you'll have the files. Got it? That means we didn't store the data into the MNT. We stored the data inside the DVSDA3. MNT is a only mount point. That's it. Now check df-th. So df-th, see here. SDA3, it's mounted on /home/student/desktop and dir. Right. Now I'm rebooting again. What will happen? We are going to lose the mount point from SDA3. We are not going to lose the data. We'll have the data inside the SDA3 itself only. Just we are going to lose the mount point, right? So what we created now? We created now temporary mount point. So with the help of mount command, so we are going to create temporary mount point. So it's not a permanent mount point. Now we'll see how to create the permanent mount point. So how to create the permanent mount point, right? So guys, to create the permanent mount point, even if you reboot the operating system, you're not going to lose the mount point. You'll have the mount point permanently. So how we need to create? So let's see here. So guys, first of all, so we need to edit one configuration file, guys. That is called etcfs tab, file system tab, vim etcfs tab. Then open this file. Already we'll have few mount points here. While we are installing the operating system, at the time we created a few mount points. How many mount points we created? Root /. So this is a mount point for root directory. So /boot, there's a mount point for boot directory, /home, /home and swap. Already 4 mount points will have. So those all permanent mount points. So now I'm trying to adding my own partition mount point. So that means I'm trying to creating the permanent mount point for DVSDA3 now. Clear, guys? So let's see here. Go to the end of the page. Right? Don't do the mistake in this file. If you did typo mistake even, so it is going to convert into the emergency mode. We won't get the operating system. So don't bother. If you get the emergency mode, be cool. Log in as a root user, open the FS tab, then remove the entries, reboot, and you'll get the normal mode. Clear? So don't do the mistake into the FS tab file. Right, guys? So let's see here to whom we need to create the partition. DVSDA3. Guys, if you want, you can provide the device name or otherwise UUID. You know very well how to get the UUID. Which command we should use? BLKID is a command to know the UUID of the particular partition. So if you want, you can give DVSDA3 or otherwise UUID of the DVSDA3. Right? Next. So home, student, so desktop, then dir1. So home, student, desktop, dir1. Right? Now, which partition? XFS file system. XFS file system only, no? We assign XFS file system after creating the partition. Then permission. System default permissions. So if you want, you can give read-only permission also like this, --RO. In older version, ACL also you should give. But here doesn't need, guys. From RHEL 7.0, in default itself only will have the ACL permission, no need to provide. But in 6.0 in older version, you should mention the ACL permissions also there. ACL you need to keep. Clear? So next, this is dumping. I am disabling the dumping. Dumping means we are going to take the data dump. Right? So I'm disabling the dumping. 0 means disable. 1 means enable. 0, I'm disabling the dumping. So no need to enable. So just you can keep 0 in dumping. Okay. And again, I'm providing one more 0. This is check sequence. This field is a dumping field and this is a check sequence field. So check sequence means, guys, if you reboot the operating system, the kernel, it is going to check each and every partition. If we having any bad cluster into the partition, it is not going to allow into the operating system. Okay, we'll get the rescue mode and emergency mode. Clear? So if we having the bad clusters, it is not going to avoid. It is not going to allow into the operating system if it will avoid. So now if I keep 1 here, it will check the bad clusters on the spot. So while you are starting the operating system at the time, it is going to check the bad cluster. If you're having the bad cluster into the DVSDA3, it is not going to allow into the operating system. So 0, why? Because if you keep the 0, we are disabling this check sequence. If you disable the check sequence, what will happen? It is not going to check the bad cluster. It will allow into our operating system. I hope you got it. Here the possibility says 0, 1, 2. 0 means disable, 1 enable. It will check on the spot itself only. 2, it will check later. 2 is option, it will check later. Recommended options 0 or 2. Okay, so 2 it will check later. It is not going to check while it is booting at the time. I hope you got it, guys. Yes, no. Then save and quit. Save and quit. Then execute this command called mount-a to reset the mount point. See, guys, if you observe one mount point, it got created on top of the desktop. if we execute the mount-a command. Mount-a means we are resetting all the mount points from fstab file. Got it, guys? Yes, no? Clear? Right. So let's check the data, whether we'll have the data or not inside the VAR1. We'll have the data. Yes. Now I'm rebooting to verify whether the mount point it got created permanently or not. So reboot the operating system. Let's verify. So we are not going to lose the mount point. We'll have the mount point. This is a permanent mount point. I hope you got it, guys. How to create the permanent mount point for any partition. So we should edit fstab file. Inside the fstab file, we need to add the entries. Clear? Yes, no? Yes, what about online? Right. See, guys, we'll have the mount point. We have the mount point on top of the desktop. So if you open this mount point, you'll have the data. So we are not going to lose any data. CD, home student, desktop dir. So let's check. Clear? So I hope you're clear, guys. Like this, you can create the file system for any partition. We did for DVSDA3. You can do for DVSDA5, SDA4, but don't do for DVSDA4. So DVSDA4 is an extended partition. So in extended partition, you are unable to store the data. We can able to store the data into the primary as well as into the logical drives. The logical drives we are creating with the help of extended partition. Got it, guys? Yes, no? Good. So how to remove, how to delete the partitions, we'll see now, right? So first of all, I'll do one thing. I'll copy this history. Guys, fdisk options we won't get. Remember, just what we are executing the commands into the terminal, only those commands will get. So fdisk option you need to remember. I think it's very easy to remember, right? So it's not a big deal, right? So you can use N to create the new partition, D to delete, so W to save, okay? Right. Next. So let's see, guys, here. So how to delete the partitions, how we need to unmount the partitions, everything we'll see. Guys, umount is a command to unmount dev sda3. It got unmounted. So open the etc fstab file. Guys, those steps are mandatory, okay? While you are trying to deleting the, and remove those entries from the fstab. Don't forget this, okay? Remove those entries from the fstab, save and quit. Then fdisk dev sda, then to delete the partition. So D is option. So which partition you should delete? So 3 partition, it got deleted. See, it doesn't have the 3rd partition. So like this, you can delete everything. So 6th partition I'm deleting, 5th, 4th partition, everything it got deleted. So don't delete the SDA1 and SDA2, right? W to save, path probe to update the partition table. That's it. So I hope you got it. D to delete, that's it. Open the fdisk dev sda3 sda, then D to delete, that's it. So D, and then you need to provide the partition number. So maybe if you need to delete 6th partition, you should provide 6, then the 6th partition will be deleted. Right? Clear, guys? So I hope you got it. So how to create the partitions, how to delete the partitions and those all stuff. Okay, good. Okay, now we'll see how to create the additional swap partition. So what is a swap, guys? So virtual RAM. Swap is a virtual RAM. We are going to take some space from the hard disk. We are converting into the swap partition. Okay, so if the swap partition, if it is full, now we have the 10 GB, it is not full. But if it is full in real-time environment, how we need to increase the swap partition? Now we'll see. Additional swap partition. Additional swap partition. Right. So I'm going to reset this again. I'm trying to creating the partitions again. Okay. Copy. Right. So guys, so how to check the swap partition? Which command we should use to know the swap partitions? Which command? So which command we need to execute to know the swap partition? Yes, Vaibhav? Yes, guys. Cat proc mem info, right? So 10 GB swap partition will have. So 2 GB RAM will have, right? So cat space proc mem info. Apart from this, you have the one more command called free-m, free-h, free-m, free-g, free-k, like this you can go. M means MBs. So 2 GB total RAM space will have usage, free, and cache. So swap total 10 GB. So there is no usage from the swap because the RAM it's not full. No? We doesn't have the like heavy servers into our operating system. If we having the services, then automatically the RAM conjunction it will happen. So automatically it will take the support from the swap. But here, so we doesn't have any services, right? Okay, good. So now, anyway, for example, this 10 GB swap partition also it got utilized. So we need to increase the swap partition more than 10 GB. Then how we need to increase the additional swap partition? How we need to create the additional swap partition? We'll see now. How to increase the swap partition manually. So already you will have the 10 GB. Now my intention is I need to add 2 more GB to the 10 GB. So I should make the swap partition total 12 GB. Right? I'm trying to adding the 2 more GB swap partition for 10 GB now. Fdisk. So Fdisk dev sda, and to create the new partition primary. So first sector, don't give anything. Last sector, we should provide the size of the partition 2 GB. So SDA3, it got created. The total size of the SDA3 is a 2 GB, and then it's a Linux partition. Guys, we need to convert Linux partition to Linux swap Solaris. So this is normal Linux partition. I need to change the partition type from Linux to Linux swap Solaris. Linux to Linux swap Solaris, right? So now T is a option to change the type. So third partition, guys, if you doesn't know the Xcode means this ID. Okay, so use capital L option. Then here you'll have the Linux swap Solaris partition ID. 82, guys. 82 is a swap Solaris ID. Okay, so by default you'll have 83. You need to change as a 82. Then hit enter. See, guys, change type of the partition Linux to Linux swap Solaris. Right. If you doesn't know the partition codes, use capital L. It will list out all the codes. According to your requirement, you can assign the code for the particular partition. Right. So P to print the partition table. See, guys. So this third partition, SDA3, it became Linux swap Solaris partition now. Before it having the Linux, now it became Linux swap Solaris. So right, clear how we need to change the partition type. So W to save, part probe to update the partition table. Part probe to update the partition table. Clear, guys? I hope you got it. Now, so let's check the free -m command. Right? So still it is showing 10 GB swap partition. What I have created the swap partition, I need to attach this additional swap partition for 10 GB. Right? So first of all, we need to assign the file system for that particular partition. mkswap is a command, guys, making swap partition. So dev sda3. Clear? mkswap dev sda3. Right? Now blkid is a command, block id, then dev sda3. See, it became swap. I hope you're clear, guys. So how to assign the swap file system? mkswap is a command. mkswap is a command to assign the swap file system for DVSDA3. Right? Now, so we need to activate the swap partition. Swap on is a command. DVSDA3. Now let's check free -m. See, guys, before 10, it became 12. I hope you got it. Swap on is a command. Swap on DV space DVSDA3. Right? So now the additional swap partition, it got activated. To know the status, swap on -s. See, guys, two partitions will have. While you are installing the operating system, we created the swap partition 10 GB. Okay, so that is DVDM1. Just now I have created one additional swap partition with the help of SDA3. So that is a secondary partition. I hope you got it, guys. Swap on space -s is a command to know the status. S means status, right? Okay. Now check free -m. So 12 GB swap will have. If I'm rebooting the operating system, what will happen? You are going to lose the additional swap partition because so we created temporary swap partition now. Additional temporary swap partition. So we need to create permanent. Then what we should do? We need to edit the fstab file. So how we created the permanent mount point with the help of fstab file? Like the same way. So we need to create the permanent swap partition in the sense we should edit the fstab file. So inside the fstab file, we need to add few entries. Okay. So let's see, guys. Priority, guys. Priority means what I said. So first priority, second priority, like that we said. So that is -2. Okay. See guys, so let's check the free -m command. So it became 10 GB again. Got it? So clear? 10 GB. We lose the 2 GB additional swap partition. FS tab. So DEV, SDA 3, swap, swap. Guys, both we need to give swap, swap. Default. Zero and zero. Check sequence and dumping. Clear? Guys, here we should not execute mount -a. We need to execute swap on -a. Okay. Then let's check free -m. It became 12 GB. Right? Let's reboot the operating system. Even if you reboot the operating system, you'll have the additional swap partition now. I hope you got it, guys. So how to create the additional swap partition? Okay. You can use na who said to reboot. Why I am rebooting in the sense, so if you didn't create the permanent mount point, we are going to lose. If you create the mount point, permanent mount point, no need to reboot. Just you can execute swap on command, that is enough. Right? So let's see here, swap on -s. See, got it? So clear? Think the priority value would go change. So let's see here, free -m 12 GB. Even if you reboot the operating system, right? So you are not going to lose the additional swap partition. Clear, guys? How to delete this? Swap off SDA 3. So delete the entries from the FS tab. Okay. Mount -a, sorry, swap -a, swap on -a, right? Then that's it. W part probe. Clear, guys? It's very simple. How we deleted the partitions before, like the same way you can. Clear? Yes, no? Advainda? Yes, guys. Do you have any doubts, any questions? Yes, no? Tomorrow, we are going to discuss about LVMs, logical volume management. So logical volume management. Yes, we can. So here you need to access the data from Windows to Linux, in the sense we should install the Samba services. Okay. So we need to install the Samba service. Then we can able to access the data from Windows to Linux and Linux to Windows. So yes, guys, if you're having any doubts, any questions, please. So here we doesn't have any server and client concept, right? So you need to learn those all stuff, in the sense you should join in admin course. Here, this is a basic Linux, guys. Right? Tomorrow, LVMs, and day after tomorrow onwards, I'm going to start networking concept for 4 days. Shell scripting for 2 days. So after completing the networking, SSH, archiving and backup, and the boot process, then scripting, basic bash scripting, right? So yes, guys, do you have any doubts, any questions? So I hope you're clear. Yes, no? Yes, guys. Okay. You can use extended also for swap. It's not a problem. Right? Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye. Take care. Stay home. Stay safe.